Okay, guys, this is Moshe coming to you from Israel in the Galilee. And just to let you know, the last few minutes we've been under missile attack from Iran. Okay, today is the 22nd of June, Sunday, 7:54 in the morning, and it feels like it's getting hot already. Let's check. Might be my imagination. 75 degrees, high of 92. Well, it's not going to be cool, but it's not going to be stifling. It looks like it's going to stay in the 90 to 92 range for a long time. Israelis can take that, no problem. You could even, if you want to, sit in front of a fan and run without the AC. Okay, what we're going to cover today, of course, is the attack America made on Iran. We're going to cover some other attacks you might not be aware of on Iran. And we're going to cover what Israel's doing and, in general, what's going on. And the big thing is we're going to talk about how much damage was done on these 3 missile sites that Trump hit and how they affected the damage. And we're also going to talk about the submarines and the Tomahawk missiles hitting these sites and a lot of other things. But the most important thing we're going to talk about is where we are in prophecy and what's going to happen next. Okay? So I'm going to jump into the live stream and make sure we got a live stream. And check sound and picture. Put a post up. And if it's going, live stream. Okay, we got sound and picture. Okay, I'm going to get a post up really quick, and then we'll get into it. Okay, and now I'm going to do some praise, being an Old Testament, New Testament, Bible believing site. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay, so apparently Iran attacked us 3, and I think it was even a 4th time in the recent hour and a half, no, the recent 30, 40 minutes. So that's sending a very strong message to Israel and Donald Trump and the world that they're not going to come up with any unconditional surrenders or go to negotiations or anything like that. They're in the war for real and they mean it. Okay? That's how you should interpret that. Okay? Not as a sign of we are defeated and we're throwing the towel in and all of that. No, it's not. And I also think you should interpret that to mean that the Iranians have every intention of attacking American assets and countries in the Middle East that they feel are in the side of America. Now, who would that be? Kuwait, with a good 5,000 American troops and bases in their country. Bahrain, with a big American naval base. Qatar, with a big American air base, Air Force base, right? Okay. UAE, with very friendly relationships with Israel, Abrahamic Accords. I believe they take down missiles if they pass through UAE, and of course, military presence in the UAE from America. Jordan, definitely bases, American bases in there. They're taking down missiles for Israel, and Saudi Arabia, just like Jordan, but perhaps more bases or more American soldiers, and they did take down missiles. The Egypt is on the other side of the Red Sea, and they still have 100,000+ soldiers on our border in the Sinai Peninsula and by Gaza, and they're there as part of the siege to come, obviously, but it's not in its fullness net yet, and they're dug in with artillery and all sorts of stuff. Trump and Netanyahu don't talk much about that at all, but it's definitely not a good situation. You don't need 100,000 soldiers to stop the Gazans from coming into your country, unless they think Trump will forcibly jam 100,000. Wow, I just heard a big explosion. That was, I believe that was what we call a fall. It wasn't an Iron Dome in the air explosion. I believe this was on the ground. I think. It's far away. It's at least 20, 30 miles away, so it's a little difficult to pinpoint it, but
these are missiles.
that was, I think, a fall.
No, we just got some more missile alerts. Those were Iron Dome launches towards the missiles.
My wife says she thinks it's an Iron Dome launch. I don't know. It could be.
801.
Could be. It could be the Iron Dome hit the missile and the missile exploded midair, and I don't know what
Well,
happened.
we're outside the area, so we would be supporting.
Yeah. So they're still attacking us now. They're attacking us all morning. And, Egypt's not going to get attacked by Iran anytime soon, nor will Turkey and so forth. Syria is not friendly with us, and they're not friendly with Iran. And Iraq is expected to enter into the war against America and Israel.
Here we go.
Now there's more missiles coming in. No.
That's like it snuck up on them. You don't get the siren that quick. This is snuck up on them.
So you need to understand this type of an attack now.
There's another one.
That's our local siren going off now.
There was no time to get to a shelter for this one.
Yeah, she's saying no time to get to the shelter.
Specifically, Korea Oved, Korea Elite, Canary, Sharon.
Let's see what happens. This is what it's like living in a war. We'll start hearing explosions anytime now. Are the dogs outside?
No, Mommy is. I gotta get Mommy in the front. Shoot. Dang it. Come here, Mommy. Oh, hi, baby. Mommy.
I hear Iron Dome. There they go. You got her? I hope Mommy didn't run away. Dogs panic when this happens. Wow, there's a lot of iron domes. I don't know if you could hear the iron domes. It's kind of a dull thud. On other channels, you hear videos of the attack. Here
I can't find her.
She's outside for sure, not in the house?
The glass door was open. Here she comes. I got her.
Okay.
Got her.
Um,
I'm so sorry.
the dog is probably hiding somewhere under the trees or something. Well, now you went through a missile attack live. There you go.
I'm so sorry.
Notice I didn't go into the shelter. So it looks like we're going to have a good old time today with the crackpot Iranians. The thing I'm hearing early this morning is people are very skeptical about, did Trump really destroy these underground 3 nuclear facilities? I think it's irrelevant for reasons you guys all know, but let's go through it. What apparently happened is some submarines fired perhaps 30 Tomahawk missiles at these sites. Tomahawk missile is typically going to have about a 500-pound warhead, so it's going to be more, I don't know, not very destructive to these facilities that are hundreds and hundreds of feet down behind large barricades of concrete and gravel or wherever they put up there. The area of attack was the ductwork, like I told you a week ago or so. The ductwork where air gets into the underground facility and the entrances and exits. Now, you got to bear in mind, they don't build these facilities or the missile cities that are embedded underground and in the side of mountains and stuff. They don't build them with one entrance. An entrance is an exit, obviously, right? So, you have a door in your house, it's an entrance and an exit, same thing. They build it with multiple entrances and exits, and I'm sure the Americans are well aware of that. And they may have had boots on the ground, Israelis or Americans, marking the entrances and exits with lasers, guiding the missiles in. This was the thought of what they would do, because there's plenty of Israeli special forces on the ground, plus Mossad. So if they did that, would they have been able to hit the entrances, exits, and the ductwork where the air gets in? Absolutely, positively, yes. Would that totally destroy the nuclear facility? Well, in the sense of no, it wouldn't get down hundreds and hundreds of feet and destroy all the equipment they're using to make uranium, plutonium, whatever the heck they're making. It wouldn't get down that far, no. Would it make the nuclear facility near impossible to use? Yes. Would that be permanent? No. Temporary. Would it take a day or two to fix it? No. Probably 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks or something. It would take time. It wouldn't be quick, really. Because you have the loss of structural support. You got an engineering nightmare in there, Now, if they want to be sloppy and just keep working, they probably can get things open again in a week or 10 days or something, but it's going to be dangerous because if more impacts hit from other explosive missiles and bombs, the structure could collapse. But now we're making an assumption that the Iranians have a great respect for the life of the people that work in these facilities, which I doubt to be the case. The mother of penetrator 30,000-pound bombs were used. But out of the 30,000-pound bomb, most of it is protective metal casing on the bomb to help the bomb penetrate deep. But it only goes about 200 feet. There's something like, let me check if it's kilograms or pounds, the weight of the explosive. It's shocking how little of that is an explosive. Oh, before I forget, for JG, Jack Girl, JG Jack Girl, JG, healing for the shoulder for JG Jack Girl. Okay. It's possible 6 to 8 bombs were maybe used or more by the B-2 bombers, which we don't know if they were 2 or 4. But a lot of the movement of the B-2 bombers went to Guam where they're parked. Now, they could come into theater from Guam if they want to, with refueling tankers. Iran launched, some people are saying 1,000 drones, other people saying 2,000, and none of them caused any damage or casualty in Israel, by the way. So the drones are highly ineffective. I think the figure would probably be more like 1,000 drones. But I did read 2,000. It could be, because a lot of drones are so bad they don't ever make it into Israel. So maybe it is that high. If you like the broadcast, please hit the thumbs up button. It takes you 2 seconds. 2 seconds, that's what it takes. The bomb is called the GBU-57. That's the massive ordnance penetrator. That's what it's called, massive ordnance penetrator, the MOP. Contains about 2,400 kilograms of explosives. So we could round that off to 5,000 pounds of explosives, which is plenty. I mean, that's a lot. You would, on my guesstimate, hear and feel the percussion of that for 50 miles, maybe more, maybe 75. You really would. So, you got to put that into your formula when you start analyzing what happens. Israel's able to use 5,000-pound bombs, and I think we dropped some on there, but they're not penetrators. So it's a 5,000-pound bomb with an extensive, heavy metal casing in the missile, or the bomb rather. It's similar to a missile, but it's a bomb. It's not propelled like a missile, okay? And it goes down probably with great accuracy, laser guided or SDAM or something, and it hits the entrance or the exit, but it would penetrate in. So, do I think the Americans for sure caused much damage to these three facilities? I do. Do I think they were permanently destroyed? I think the jury is still out. And we got to wait and start getting reports. The sun's been up a few hours in Iran. There is a limited amount of internet operating, so people will get on the internet if they can get near there. The Iranian authorities may not let them get near there, but if they can get near there, they'll be putting pictures up on the internet, and we'll be able to see what's going on. Now, seeing what's going on from the exterior is not going to tell us what happened to the interior. Iran already made a statement that the damage was just on the exterior of these sites and it didn't hurt the operations and stuff like that. But they're profound liars and you can't listen to them, and they're always going to say stuff like that. So let me check the live stream for questions. I do take questions and can answer them. I'll go quick for the questions. Let's see. All right. Please hit the like button. It helps me. It takes you 2 seconds. The Beach Boys song continues. Barbaran, pronounced Barbaran. Yes. There's no song that says missile attack Iran or drone attack Iran. Maybe we need a song like that. Okay. Thank you for praying for us. Sometimes I feel like we ride on your prayers. Jerusalem was supposed to be targeted with chatter. I didn't hear anything about Jerusalem getting any damage or hit or anything like that. The birds and the dogs are okay. They don't like hearing all the explosions in the sky. They're quite powerful and you could feel them, and they shake the doors and the windows. And the dogs have hearing probably 40 times greater than ours, so it bothers them greatly. And when missiles come in, they shoot many iron domes at it. And it sounds like when you put popcorn in a microwave and the popcorn's peaking, bop, 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 bop. That's what it sounds like. I'm in what's called the north, the Galilee. Where the arrow that flies by day. No, I don't believe any nukes were used. No. The MOP and Tomahawk missiles. And I would think they were both guided by either SDAMs or lasers to be precise. And I believe what they were focusing on was the air duct work. You can't go to work in an underground facility if there's no air. What are you going to do? Bring tanked oxygen down there like a fireman? The fireman's oxygen is maybe 40 minutes, something like that, an hour. You're not going to be able to work all day there. You'd need a 5-foot tank of oxygen or something, Yeah, they do penetrators in sequence, agreed. Who do you think's going to win? Well, I can give you the prophecies in Jeremiah 49. I think it's around, I'll read it to you. Let's read the prophecy. And I know it's not taught a lot by the churches, but some people are starting to teach it now. I've been teaching it a while, and it's being fulfilled now. And what verse are we at? Let's try 31. No, I'll find the verse for you. Okay. It starts in verse 34. Jeremiah 39, verse 34. This you'll see as unfulfilled prophecy. But I need to tell you, it talks about Elam. The word Iran is not really used much or at all in the Bible. I'm not even sure it appears anywhere. If it does, it's in one or two places. Elam and Persia are the words usually used for Iran. In this case, it says Elam. Elam, according to the historians and the historical cartographers, a cartographer is a map maker, map expert, okay, is that Elam was southwestern Iran, which means it's Iran. They're not going to let you destroy southwestern Iran, which is where most of their missile launches are. And they're just going to take it lying down and, forget about southwestern. Of course not. You're attacking Iran, right? The whole thing. And it's also thought to include Iraq, which is saying they're going to join in the fight with Iran now. And it also can include parts of Syria, which doesn't seem to be doing anything. They're opposed to Iran, and they're afraid of Israel, and they don't have any weapons. So that's a good question what happens there. But we do know Damascus will be a ruinous heap, and it's not yet been the case. So they may get in this thing. But let me read it to you. It's rather, if you live in Israel, you think it's beautiful. If you don't live in Israel, and you're not in favor of Israel, you'll think it's shocking. The word of Jehovah that came to Jeremiah, or Yeremahu in Hebrew, the prophet against Elam, okay, and you would more likely pronounce that Elam, okay? Elam is like New York English accent. Elam would be Hebrew, right? In the beginning of the reign of Zedekiah, king of Judah, saying, now this doesn't mean it was for the days of Zedekiah the Judah. It means, you must understand this, the prophecy was given to Jeremiah in the days of Zedekiah. Thus saith Jehovah of hosts. Hosts could be translated armies, perhaps better. Behold, I will break the bow of Elam, the chief of their might. Okay, now this you'll find very interesting. What does a bow do? It shoots an arrow. Another word for an arrow is a missile. It's used in the Bible, I believe, as a missile, but an arrow is a missile. And a missile launcher basically does the same function as a bow. A bow is, you fire the missile from the bow, or you fire the arrow from the bow. The missile is the missile or the arrow, and the bow is the missile launcher. And is that not the strength of Iran? Absolutely. I hope you enjoyed that. It's not often taught, but it sure fits, doesn't it? And that's what Israel's trying to do, is knock out their missile launchers. Now that Trump is in the war, and Trump's in the war, somebody was destroying Iranian naval ships, I think as many as 3. They were this morning, or last night, I should say. And everybody thought it was Israel, but Israel came out with an official statement saying, no, it wasn't us. So who did it? Well, America might have special forces over there, and they did it. How could they do it? American special forces? Let me tell you the ways. I mean, we'll be here all morning. They could have flown in on paragliders to get dramatic. They could have parachuted. They could have shoulder-fired weapons that would blow ships up and cause fires and serious problems for the ship. as in make them unusable and probably cause them to sink or be unusable anyway. We had submarines in the area that could have torpedoed them. Remember the Tomahawk missile launches? We could have sent planes over there, like any kind of stealth aircraft could have done it. An F-22, an F-35, hands down. Navy ships could have launched missiles and anti-ship missiles. I mean, a lot of ways. But it appears America did it because the Iranians are most likely, beyond a shadow, I would give this a 99%. They're going to try to close the Persian Gulf, especially using the Straits of Hormuz, which is a pincher point in the Persian Gulf. So the ships to exit the Persian Gulf and go into the next body of water on the way to the Indian Ocean is called the Sea of Oman. And right around the Sea of Oman by the Indian Ocean is where the American warships are floating around, out of the range of Iranian weapons, missiles and drones, well, things like that. They're out of the threat level range, okay? And America has to be very careful because the Iranians have what looks like a container ship, and it opens containers up and fires missiles, and it also launches drones, and they have other civilian naval vessels that are actually drone launchers and stuff like that. So America has to make sure that nothing like this gets probably within, I would think, 200 miles of the Navy warships. So that means a lot of planes and drones on patrol 24/7. That's how you do it. So this is a tough operation for the Americans at the beginning. As it progresses, it'll get easier and easier for the Americans because they're going to take out the offensive and defensive weapons that the Iranians have. Okay? But it'll be ugly the first 4 or 5 days, maybe, okay? Maybe less, maybe a week, maybe 2 days. You're in the ugly phase now, okay? And we're getting attacked in Israel every day, and people are getting hurt, and property is being destroyed, and millions of people are going into the bomb shelters multiple times a day. It's not so much fun, okay? It stinks. I'm really angry at the Iranians. My dogs are very angry at the Iranians. They keep telling me the real answer is to go over there and pee on the government. That's how the dogs see it. I'm just kidding. Okay, so let's keep going, and you'll see how this ends. And it doesn't end too good for Iran at all. But let's go through it. Now we're in verse 36 after the bow of Elam has been destroyed. And the word for the bow, by the way, stinking iPad, is Strong's number 7199. Now the thing doesn't want to work. I have a lot of trouble with this iPad. With the touch on the screen, it's been a mistake. I will never buy another Apple product again. I think they're pure trash. Okay, bow is the meaning. Let's see how Strong's puts this word into English. It's pronounced cachette. bow, shooting, archer, arrow. Yeah, it's a bow. Okay, that's it. That's what it means. Okay. And this is what happens after that, after their bow is broken, I guess. And upon Elam will I bring the four winds from the four quarters of heaven, and will scatter them towards all those winds, and there shall be no nation whither the outcasts of Elam shall not come. Let's check that word outcasts for the Hebrew. It's Strong's number, uh, something's wrong here, hold on. No, I had it 50, Strong's number 5080. Let's see how Strong's puts it in thing. Well, Strong's the best one for this. That's commonly available. It means to push off. There's a lot of meanings. Banish, bring, expel, mislead, strike. I think the King James use of the word outcast is pretty okay. And the word for the winds, the four winds, is 7307. It's ruach, which is the same word for spirit, but I would think it probably means winds here. And there shall be no nation whither the outcasts of Elam shall not come. So they're going to be scattered into every nation of the world. And that's what Elam or Iran wants for Israel, to run us out of Israel and then go after us when we're in the nations all over the world. I will cause Elam to be dismayed. Okay, the word for dismayed is Strong's number 2866. And Strong's puts that into English using the word could be prostrate, could be break down, violence, confused, fearful, abolished, frightened. You're getting the idea. Dismayed before their enemies. Now, the word for enemies here is in the plural. It's Strong's number in the Hebrew 341. Ayab. And what does this mean? Let's see what Strong's does with it. Hating, adversary, enemy. Well, from those that hate her, destroy her, but it's plural. So I've been telling the people that follow me for a long time that it's not going to be just Israel. So now we see America and Israel doing it. So we got two. The UAE will follow suit. The other day, an aircraft carrier from the UAE was seen in the Suez Canal crossing. That's about 2 days ago, most 3. So it's floating around out here someplace, I think. And the second aircraft carrier to come into the Middle East should be here. I think it's the Nimitz. Should be here by today. Or it's at least in theater within striking range. But, I mean, today would be the latest it shows up. I will cause Elam to be dismayed before their enemies, and before them that seek their life. Well, let's take a look at that. Their life word, nephesh. It means more like their soul, but it would be. Yeah, that would mean kill them. Yeah. Uh, I will. Wait. That seek their lives, and I will bring evil upon them, even my fierce anger, saith Jehovah, and I will send the sword after them till I have consumed them. So when they go into the nations, they're all going to get killed. And I will set my throne in Elam. That doesn't mean the Lord's going to go reside in Elam. Uh, when Solomon would judge somebody, they'd bring him to the throne. See, it's the judgment. He's saying when you bring him to the throne, they're being judged. It's a figurative thing. It's not that he's literally going to relocate himself into Iran. And will destroy from thence the king and the princes, saith Jehovah. Well, we've got a lot of their military leaders already. We must be up to 14 or 15 of them. But it shall come to pass in and government leaders too, intelligence and different things. But it shall come to pass in the latter days that I will bring again the captivity of Elam, saith Jehovah. And that's how you explain Persia being in the Gog and Magog war, which is down the road. It's not now. It can't possibly be now. Ezekiel 38 says that when it happens, we're living without bars and walls, with peace and safety. You just heard the sirens in the missile attack. Come on. And it says we'll have cattle and gold and silver and great riches. The Israelis are poor. So that's what's going on right now. Okay, and it can include Iraq and Syria. And Iraq did say they're going to enter into the fight for Iran, but then we don't see them actually doing it, and we hear sometimes they're soft pedaling it, and I don't know. Iran did ask the Hezbollah in Lebanon to enter into the war, and it appears they declined. We did see some light firing last night from Lebanon, but it was nothing. And it could have been a couple of, renegade Hezbollah guys that just said, hey, let's go shoot the Jews, and they shot over the border or something. Yeah, nothing. Let me see if I have more questions. I will try to answer the questions as best I can. And remember, I've lived here for many years, and I'm going through this. So the other sites are just telling you stuff from the videos. I'm living it. There's a difference, okay? And I put it together with true Bible prophecy. That's my strength. India, yeah, okay. I sleep through it. I don't go to the bomb shelter. I slept pretty okay last night. I went to bed early and I got up about 4:30. I usually get up at 5 or so I was up a little early. The U.S. is going to have a lot of problems. Oklahoma, okay. Questions will be read and oh, okay, that was my moderator. Thank you to my moderators. They keep me going. I'm in Israel, in the Galilee. I'm not in America. If you want to put a prayer request in, you could post one, but just saying pray for somebody. What are we praying for? It doesn't make too much sense, does it? What are we asking God to do? Who do I think is going to win? I just answered that. The Iranians are going to lose, but what's going to happen to America is in the next chapter of Jeremiah 50 and 51, the destruction of the daughter of Babylon. So, what happens next? Well, there's going to be, as you see, attacks on the Navy ships in Iran that Iran has. Now, you have to understand, Iran is loaded for bear in a hybrid fashion with their ships. They have over 1,500 go-fast boats. A go-fast boat is basically a civilian boat that is going to really go 60 to 90 feet, depending on the model they have. Probably most of them are around 60 or so feet, which could be 50, it could be 73, or that kind of size. Kind of sort of like the size of an old PT boat in World War II, something like that. Some of them are able to launch torpedoes off the deck of the boat. They just point the nose at the boat, at the ship they want to hit with the torpedo, fire the torpedo off the deck. It jumps into the water and goes after the ship. The torpedo might be wire guided, so they could actually steer it into the ship if the ship tries evading. That's dangerous. If you got a 1,000 or 2,000 pound warhead on a torpedo like that, it's going to cause substantial damage to a ship right at the waterline or wherever they set the depth of the torpedo, which should probably be a few feet underwater. Maybe 8, something like that. These boats can fire anti-ship missiles. They put mortars on them, small missile launches where the missile is more like a little rocket or something. The guys on the boat can carry shoulder-fired anti-ship missiles easy enough, which could go out maybe 2 miles. They have guns put on these boats, like 20 millimeter and 30 millimeter guns. Getting strafed by a 30 millimeter gun is very damaging. A 30 millimeter gun is, I would say, it's a cross between a heavy machine gun and an artillery shell. I mean, it's a big sucker. And it's going to rip through most hulls, and they could hit the decks. It's a dangerous item. And they got all missile launch capabilities. Some of these have a missile launcher for an anti-ship missile. And they got over 1,500 of these things. America's going to have their hands full with this. That's why I think they brought in the A-10 Warthogs, which is a slow-moving plane. It goes roughly 450 miles an hour. It's not a fast mover, but it's maneuverable, and it has a very, very big gun on it, like a Gatling gun with multiple cannons, and it could probably pump about 3,000 rounds well, very, very powerful. Probably in a minute it could get even 3,000 rounds. And it's generally a 20 millimeter, but it could be a 30 millimeter round. 20 millimeter is very deadly for hitting go-fast boats. It's a 1 pound projectile. A 50 caliber is 750 grains. This is a full pound, you know, and it just rip a boat up. And when you hear the warthog fire, what it sounds like is, you know, they go so fast. And you hear, you know, it's could be 8 or 12 rounds, you know, or more. And just rip the boat up, you know, rip it apart. I mean, there's nothing, but the plane has to be exposed, but these boats are small and they don't have any anti-aircraft systems in them. The only thing the guys could do, and it could be a little dangerous, is if they got a 20 or a 30 millimeter gun that'll pivot up enough, they could direct the gun at the warthog and fire. They might be able to, I'm sure they could get a mile up with that 5,200 feet. I don't know how much more. They might even be able to get a mile and a half up or something like that. So they could be a threat to the warthog to some extent, not a lot. Okay, then comes jets. F-15s carry 41 small, I think they're 2 3/4 inch rockets, and they carry 9 more substantial missiles. So they could approach at a safe distance the go-fast boats and start firing rockets from rocket pods into them. And those are the F-15s, some F-15s that are set up this way. And they also have a gun, so they could fire the gun at the go-fast boats too. You're not going to want to take out a 260-foot destroyer with a gun as a first, you know, I mean, it could work, but it's not the best way to do it. In World War II, the fighter pilots that had propeller planes that could maybe get up to 350 miles an hour in a dive or something like that, had the guns, and they would shoot railroad cars and ships with 50 calibers, and they had a lot of destruction from that. But they would really pelt it with a lot of shells, and then they very frequently had secondary explosions from fuel and explosives, and they destroyed trains and boats and all sorts of stuff with them. With a 50 caliber, you're unlikely to destroy a tank. With a 20 millimeter with armor-piercing shells, it's going to depend on the tank. With armor-piercing rounds, you're probably going to penetrate and destroy the tank. But it depends on whose tank you're talking about, what model and stuff. So those go-fast boats could swarm attack an American aircraft carrier or a destroyer. They could send 35 or 50 boats at it at the same time, and also fire missiles and drones at it as well. And that would be a swarm attack that would be very overwhelming for a single warship, and it may run out of missiles, and before it could replenish, it gets hit. So you have to be careful with these go-fast boats. Submarines are probably highly ineffective against them because the torpedo may actually, they'd have to set the torpedo for the surface of the water, because these boats don't go very deep in the water, and then when you put them, they go 60, 70 miles an hour. When you hit the gas with them, the nose rises up out of the water, and you don't have much boat in the water, so you have to pretty much set the torpedo for the surface, but that means they see it coming easily, and they just whip the wheel when the torpedo's like 60 yards away. They just whip the wheel, and the thing will miss them, and you know, that's not going to be effective. Uh, for bigger boats, it is. So they got a plethora of ways to take these go-fast boats out. But remember, Iran has over 1,500 of them. We do not know how many civilian vessels have been converted to launch drones and missiles. We really don't know. They could have 3 such boats like that or 13. We don't know. I don't think they got 25, but I don't know either. Okay? So the Iranian Navy is going to be a royal pain in the neck for the Americans because they're a threat to the American warships. If Trump is serious about pursuing a regime change, I'm getting more and more of the opinion that Trump needs to land boots on the ground in Iran. But prophecy tells us there's not going to be a regime change. So what could happen? Well, the prophecy tells us the end result. They scatter out of Iran and go to every country in the world. So what does that tell us? Well, it tells us any one of a number of things, some of them, all of them, or a few of them would come to pass. One would be the infrastructure is destroyed. Well, Israel's already begun that. There would be complete takedown of the internet. The whole electrical grid would go out. We've already hit their ports and piers. That would enhance. We'd have to keep hitting their airports, which we've already hit several of their airports. We're worried about weapons coming in from China on big cargo planes. Big cargo planes need about a 2-mile runway to land when they're fully loaded up and to take off loaded up. So, we're hitting airports that have runways that large to make sure China doesn't get one in. If China does get a cargo plane in, then we're just going to blow the cargo up. We'll let the Chinese plane land, offload, and then we'll go blow it up. We won't blow the Chinese plane up, most likely. If they keep doing it, we might. Is China going to come over here and enter into this war against America in the Middle East? I seriously doubt it. Will Russia? I seriously doubt it. Will North Korea? He's crazy, but I don't think there's much he can do. I don't think there's anybody really coming to the help of Iran except the Houthis in Yemen, the idiots in Iraq, the Iranian-backed militia that's still in Syria in the south of the country, but they're pretty much without weapons except small arms. Gaza, who can't do very much, and then Hezbollah, who can't do very much. So it's basically going to boil down to Yemen, which in the Bible is referred to as Edom, and they'll be destroyed, and Israel will take the remnant, the survivors of Edom, as their possessions. That's in Jeremiah 49 also. Yemen does not appear in the Bible. Taman does, which means the south, and that's how Israelis refer to Yemen. And Edom is Yemen. So we call it Yemen, but it's more appropriately referred to as Edom, and it gets destroyed. And I believe Israel will do that. But it doesn't mean Israel will exclusively do it. America may do it. Now, the Houthis already made a public announcement, and they tend to try. I said try. They're not all that competent militarily, but they will try to attack civilian vessels in the Red Sea and underneath Yemen and anywhere they could reach with their missiles. Not just American warships. That's on the table too now because of America attacking Iran, but also civilian vessels. Now, something you need to know is there's a very, very large shipping container company called Maersk, Maersk. It might be the largest one in the world. They cut all their ships off from going to or fro Haifa in Israel, our big port. And Netanyahu closed all the airports, so we can't get deliveries of imported goods right now in Israel. There's no real ground transportation in. There is a border open with Egypt and Sinai, so there are a certain amount of Israelis walking. Well, you basically take a taxi or have somebody drive you to the border with Egypt, get off, show your passport, and enter into Egypt, and then grab a taxi and go to the airport in Cairo, get on a plane, and take off, right? There's no stopping that, and there's no prohibition, and perhaps 10,000 people left that way, in addition to going into Jordan. Right now where I live, you can go to the border of Jordan and just walk over with your passport, and then grab a taxi or a bus or whatever. Usually you grab a taxi, go to the airport, and get on your flight, and you're out. Now, they did send one cruise ship so far from Cyprus to Israel to return. There's something like 100 to 200,000, depending who you want to read, stranded Israelis outside of Israel. And they're trying to come back. So they make their way back to Cyprus, and then they're running cruise ships to bring them from Cyprus, which is an overnight ride. So they probably sleep on the boat. If they don't want to pay for a cabin, they might just sit in the lounge or something, or lay down on one of the lounge benches, or I don't know what they're doing. You know, it's going to vary. They're not taking a pleasure cruise, it's just a straight run. Now, they're not taking people out on the cruise ships back to Cyprus for some reason. They are taking, Israeli airlines are taking people that want to get out of Israel, foreigners and people that have a reason to leave or just want to leave. Now, people were saying this is the ships of Tarshish. No, I don't think so. It's not in the fullness of it. I mean, the ships of Tarshish coming home to Israel. Yeah, I mean, let's read the scripture and see, because there's something to this, okay? But I don't think it's in the fullness, but we'll decide, or you'll decide, and I'll give you my thoughts. Let me find the passage for that. Bible verse, ships of Tarshish. I gotta fix the word for Tarshish. Let's see if I get it. It shows up in Ezekiel 27, but I'm not looking for that. Um, it also shows up in Isaiah 2. Let's see, somebody might have the actual verse. Let me check. Um, Tarshish is located on the Mediterranean and was usually identified with the powerful Phoenicians trading their trading colony in southwestern Spain. This guy doesn't get it right. A lot of them don't want you to see the right passage there. The false teachers trying to conceal the truth, but I know it's in here. I think it's in Jeremiah 50:51. Let me check someplace else. We'll find it. Isaiah 60. This looks like it. Isaiah 60, verse 9. I think this is it. Isaiah 60. Surely the isles shall wait for me, and the ships of Tarshish first, to bring thy sons from far, their silver and their gold with them, unto the name of Jehovah Elohim, and to the Holy One of Israel, who's the glorious God of Israel, who's not here yet, because he has glorified thee. Now, this is for redemption. This is not now. The gold and the silver, no. This isn't now, as I thought. I'd say disregard it. It's not for, that's not the fulfillment in that scripture. It's not even close. Okay, so let's go back. I'm talking about the American attack on Iranian, on Iran and Iran attacking Israel. So what are we going to see? We're going to see more attacks on Israel, on Iran, from America and Israel. They're going to hit the ships to make sure the Straits of Hormuz stays open, so Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia can sell their oil and ship it out of the Persian Gulf area without any turmoil or attacks from Iran. So America's going to knock off the ships. Israel may help. Israel's going to keep attacking the missile cities and the mobile missile launches, which are a very bad pain in the neck because they move around and they get a few missile launches. Some of them, I think, can launch 2 missiles, most of them 1. They move them around and they coordinate the launches at the same time to make it harder for our defense systems. And they'll normally will send 3 or even 1 up to maybe 10 at the most. It's typically what we see. Occasionally we'll get 15 or 20, but usually it's less. And we take down most of them. You can't get them all. 5% of them, since this war started, I think we're on the 10th day or the 9th day, I have to count. The they were basically about 500 missiles, and 5% of them got through, which is about 25. So to try to build a missile system that's going to be 100% effective is you're dreaming. There is no such thing. You can get it up there. 95% is up there. They're trying to drain our anti-missile missiles, our Iron Dome missiles down so we don't have them and then keep attacking us. That's what Iran is trying to do, and Israel is trying to knock it out. Now, what I believe is October 7th was allowed to happen by Israel with Netanyahu and Biden. Biden didn't want Israel visiting him, and then on September 23rd, 2023, all of a sudden Biden says, yeah, and not on the 23rd, in September, earlier in September, he says Netanyahu could come here anytime he wants, like they're old buds, right? Then on the 23rd, Netanyahu went over to visit Biden, then October 7th it happened, and there was lots and lots of reports that Israel had been warned. And the soldiers that were at the border were phoning in. We're being swarmed, we're being attacked, we're being overrun, they're coming on paragliders, everything, and they were being laughed at. All the defenses were down. And instead of getting help when they screamed for help, which normally would have been 3 to maybe as much as 10 or 12 minutes, was hours, in some cases 7, 8 hours, many hours. I was outside that morning about 5 o'clock getting ready for my broadcast, or maybe it was 5:30, and I started hearing the red alerts go off. Like every red alert went off all the time. It was like, running the battery down on my phone. It was nonstop. I thought somebody hacked the system and was making us crazy because I wasn't hearing ground red alerts in my area because I'm quite far away from Gaza. So I was sitting there, and it was early, and it was Simchat Torah, a Hebrew holiday, not a biblical holiday, a holiday to the rabbis. And it took a while. It was after 7 o'clock till I started hearing other people talk about what was going on. And it took, before our airplanes responded, it took 3.5 or 4 hours, something like that, where it might have been 3 hours, where normally it would have been 10 or 15 minutes. And till they came in on the ground was 7 or 8 hours, something was really, really wrong. And then that idiot Netanyahu practices gun control down there in Gaza. I mean, they're surrounded by enemies, and he doesn't want them to have guns. Well, maybe he's afraid of an overthrow of his administration, but he certainly made a wrong decision, and the people of Israel didn't hold his feet to the fire for that. If it was being like set up like the old days in the 90s, the people in the kibbutzes and the moshavs would have had an arsenal that was put in a heavy concrete building with, a box like not exactly a safe, but heavy plate metal cabinet, and you'd be able to check out weapons, like if you were going to go into the Arab areas or stuff like that. They normally back then had Uzi. I lived here back in the 90s and left for a while and came back quite a few years ago. They would carry, they had Uzis, the big ones, not the mini Uzis, the big clunkers. And they had M1 carbines, and they had M16s. And a good amount of ammo, and they had radios on the military net and the police net to coordinate and get help. And Netanyahu stopped all this giving them of weapons, which is a sick thing he did. And they should be holding his feet to the fire for the gun control. Because had these people had another 25 or 40,000 guns, it never would have happened. Even if they just had pistols. So they were approaching the house, and the people in the house would crack open the door, lay down on the floor, make themselves a very hard target, and start shooting them with the pistol. But the old days, it was assault rifles, so you could be plinking at them at 200-300 yards away, keeping them away from your house, and they would have just went back into Gaza. That's exactly what would have happened. Now, in normal circumstances, the soldiers would call in for a response, and it would be there in a few minutes. A helicopter would come within 5 or 8 minutes. Armored vehicles would come, like Humvees. Humvees, maybe not armored, with a 50 cal mounted on it, would come. Now, that's a potent weapon when you're dealing with ground soldiers invading your country. A 50 cal belt-fed mounted on the roof of a Humvee could mow down dozens and dozens of people instantly, and would run them back into Gaza. We had many thousands of Gazan citizens join them to kill and rape Israelis and plunder them. Okay? So these atrocities were apparently allowed to happen. We normally would have trackers at the border. Trackers would typically be Bedouins, like an Apache or a Cherokee tracker in the 1820 or something like that. They would know how to follow somebody's tracks, and that would be in case we had one or two people break in. But we had sensors to detect them coming in. We had cameras, night vision, day vision. All these things were going off. And the people in the military base, I'm sure, were able to monitor the cameras if they want to. At least I was thinking they could. And they did nothing. So this was a big nothing event. It was allowed to happen. It got the Israelis riled up like crazy. And then I said right after that, this was about getting Iran. Why? Iran and Russia are in BRICS. BRICS is trying to destroy the American dollar. The two biggest oil sellers in BRICS is Iran and Russia. As you know, Russia is being attacked by a proxy of America and the EU and NATO, which has the name Ukraine. And they get a lot of weapons and support from NATO, the EU, and America. And they are spending a lot of time and energy attacking Russian oil refineries, and they perhaps destroyed 30% of them or so. Now, when you start destroying Russian oil refineries, you are making it more and more difficult for BRICS to function and sell oil. So Russia would be selling oil through the BRICS countries, of which there's close to 30 of them, selling oil through the BRICS nations and not letting them pay for the oil in euros or US dollars. And Iran is operating in the same manner. Now, the UAE joined BRICS, but they're probably not going to go through with it. They're going to just punk out and go with America and Saudi Arabia. They're not going to be devout. So the big threat to America is not them selling wheat and cotton and linen and pistachio nuts and stuff like that off the US dollar. It's the oil and natural gas. So Russia's been discombobulated quite successfully through the proxy Ukraine. Well, Iran's been discombobulated to some good extent by the proxy Israel. But the proxy Israel can't wipe out Iran. It's very difficult. So the weapons that were given to us were helping big time. But what they wanted to see us do was wipe out Iran's proxies so there couldn't be a massive attack in the Middle East. There were massive attacks against Israel each time. Hamas launched thousands of rockets and missiles at us. We overcame them because we're in the year of recompenses. And we're going to the day of vengeance. Now, let me show you more, and then we'll go to the scriptures. Hezbollah in Lebanon tried it, and we disabled them. How about that? Syria was doing it as a proxy of Iran, and they got overthrown in 11 days. And Bashar Assad went running with his tail between his legs with billions of dollars to Putin in Moscow. Iraq backed out of fighting against Israel, but it looks like they're going to go back in the fight. And then we have the Houthis in Yemen. Okay, so where are you finding this in Bible prophecy, the day of vengeance and stuff that they never talk about? I never see any of the survivalist prepper news sites talk about it, nor do I ever hear the churches talk about it. Yet I will read it to you right in your Bible. It's right there. And it's in Isaiah 34, verse 8. For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance. You ever hear them preach about the day of the Lord's vengeance? This is not the great day of the Lord. That's Ezekiel 38:39. This is different. The day of the Lord's vengeance and the year of recompenses for the controversy or the fighting or the dispute or the strife over Zion, which is Israel. That's what this is about. Okay? The day of vengeance. Now, what happens on the day of vengeance? Well, I can read it to you. Most of you aren't going to like this. Jeremiah 30, verse 11, which is associated with the birth pangs in Jeremiah 30, and Jacob's trouble, which is Zechariah 12. And it reads like this. For I am with thee, saith Jehovah, to save thee. That's Yasha thee, or salvation thee. Not really save, salvation thee. Though I make a full end of all the heathen nations whither I have scattered thee. That's probably 200 nations. He makes a full end of all these countries that he scattered Israel. That's everything in Europe. It's practically the entire Middle East, probably the whole Middle East, a good piece of Africa, and as far as I know, every country in Central, South, and North America has Jews in it and has had them, and the Caribbean islands too, and a lot of countries in Asia. Now, they're all going to bite the dust. Now, you're not going to like that, but am I doing my job if I don't teach that? Let's go to Jeremiah 46, verse 28. Fear thou not, O Jacob, my servant. Remember Jacob's trouble in Jeremiah 30? I think it's verse 6 or verse 8. That's Zechariah 12. It says, great is Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it, salvation out of it. I'll read it to you in a minute. Fear thou not, O Jacob, my servant, saith Jehovah, for I am with thee, for I will make a full end of all the goyim, heathen nations, that I have driven thee, but I will not make a full end of thee, but I will correct thee in measure. Yet will I not leave thee wholly unpunished. Well, we've certainly been punished. This war's been going almost 2 years. The Hamas took a bite out of us. Hezbollah took a bite out of us. Syria did. Iraq did. Yemen's doing it and has done it, and so is Iran. Okay? Now, what you need to know when you're talking about the day of vengeance is you also need to read Isaiah. I think it's 63. Verse 4, maybe? Yeah. For the day of, Isaiah 63, verse 4, for the day of vengeance, there it is again, is in my heart, and the year of my redeemed is come. That's the redemption. Now, they don't teach this on the sites that all tell you what's going on is Gog and Magog, Ezekiel 38, 39. It's not for today. They don't teach you this, but I do. So what is your redemption and all of that? Well, we'll quickly go through it and you'll understand. Matthew 24, verse 30. I'm not going to give you every single scripture, but we'll give you some. And then shall appear the miraculous appearing, or the sign, they call it a sign, it's a miraculous sign, of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. They see him and they mourn. Remember that, because that's in Zechariah 12. This is almost quoting Zechariah 12, not quite. Now, who sees him? I'm giving you a condensed version of this because it's a long teach, but my videos have it. Okay, you just go to Revelation 1:7, and you get a lot of the same stuff. Behold, he cometh with clouds. So he appears in the clouds where the birds and the airplanes fly, that kind of thing. Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him. Everybody sees him. And they also which pierced him, which is the Israelites, and all tribes, they said kindreds, it's all tribes of the land, they say earth, it's ha'eretz in Hebrew, the land, shall wail, which is mourning, because of him. Even so, amen. It's the morning again. Now, it says they see the one whom they have pierced. So I'm going to put this together to you and shock you a little bit. John 6:40, but I'm shocking you straight out of your Bible, so that's not really shocking. It's more like educating. So if you're rejecting me, since I've been doing everything out of the scriptures, come to grip with the facts you've been rejecting the scriptures. And Yeshua is the Word made flesh. So when you reject knowledge, Yeshua says he will reject you. John 6:40, and this is the will of him that sent me, that every one which seeth the Son of Man and believeth on him may have everlasting life, and I will raise him up at the last day. So where do we see this happen? We see it happening any minute now, or any day now. Zechariah 12, verse 1. This is Jacob's trouble. Great is Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Let's read it. It's a quick chapter. The burden of the word of Jehovah for Israel, saith Jehovah, which stretcheth forth the heavens, and layeth the foundation of the earth, and formeth the Son, the Spirit of man, within him. Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling unto all the people round about, when they shall be in the siege both against Judah and against Jerusalem. The land that we have now is not Israel. The 10 tribes are not back. We don't have all the land that we were promised by covenant by Jehovah in Genesis 15. So he calls us Judah and Jerusalem. Okay? And there's going to be a siege. A siege is not an invasion. And what happens in a siege in like the old days of Rome and all that? They would surround a city or a country, and they would shoot their arrows, their weapons, into the country. They also would sometimes use a catapult, which is similar to a missile launcher, and they use arrows. And they would stop anything coming out or going in. Now, we got Hamas basically is still 30,000 of them living in Gaza on our border there. Hezbollah is probably 20 or so thousand, or 15 or 20,000, maybe a little more, living in Lebanon, and the Lebanese government is against us also. And then in Syria, the Syrian government is Al-Qaeda and ISIS, so they're against us. They just don't have enough weapons to do anything about it. And there's a bunch of Iranian-backed militias living in South Syria, and then you have Iraq against us, you have Iran against us, and you have the Houthis against us. So is it fair to say that we're in a siege now? Gaza launched a couple of missiles at us the other day. This morning we got fired on from Hezbollah, nothing from Iraq or Syria, nothing from Jordan, nothing from Saudi Arabia, and the Houthis, of course, in Iran are after us. So I don't think we're in the fullness of the siege, but I'd say it's well in advance. It's advancing. It's got a little bit more to go to be completed. So it says a cup of trembling unto all the people that are doing this roundabout. Well, that means that they're going to be shaking. They're so scared. And that's because the next temple is here, and Elijah is working with the Levites in Malachi 3. They don't teach you this either. And in that day, this is verse 3, will I make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people, all that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces. That means you die. In the days of the Roman era, you got cut in pieces, you got sliced and diced by a sword. That burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces, though all the people of the land shall gather together against it. It could mean all the people of the earth, but I don't think it's every single country. In that day, saith Jehovah, I will smite every horse with astonishment and his rider with madness, and I will open my eyes upon the house of Judah, saith the Lord, and will smite every horse of the people with blindness. Open his eyes, that means he's turned his face towards us. That means that we just slid into home plate. And you, of all the non-Israelite believers, this applies to you too, because you're also in Israel as a believer in Yeshua. And the governors, now that should be interpreted the judges. The judges of Judah shall say in their heart, the inhabitants of Jerusalem shall be my strength. This is twisted. It's the inhabitants of Jerusalem's strength shall be in Jehovah of hosts their God. So there's a big amount of people in Jerusalem that know who Jehovah is anyway. In that day will I make the judges of Judah like an earth of fire among the wood, and like a torch of fire in a sheaf, and they shall devour all the people round about on the right hand and on the left, and Jerusalem shall be inhabited again. Well, who do you know that has fire coming out of their mouth but the two witnesses? So is that so hard for you to figure out? The two witnesses are the judges. Judges were prophets. In Revelation 11, it tells us the two witnesses are also prophets. That being a prophet, holding the office of prophet, is a very mighty office. It's Yeshua was a prophet and John the Baptist was a prophet. It's a heavy duty office, okay? It's not just prophesying. Jehovah also shall save the tents of Judah first, that the glory of the house of David and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem do not magnify themselves against Judah. In that day, there we go, that day, that's the day of vengeance, shall Jehovah defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and he that is feeble among them in that day shall be as David. Now the feeble, the old feeble people, with canes and walkers and bent over and bad hearing and vision and all that, they're going to be like David, who killed Goliath and killed the bear and killed the lion and was a great warrior. Pay attention. Pay attention. You should. And the house of David shall be as Elohim, God, as the angel of the Lord before them. That's the angel of the Lord, the glory of God of Israel, that went with Moses and Aaron in the wilderness, and he killed something like 180,000 people, something like that, in one day. And that's how the house of David's going to be, because they get the everlasting life. But let's read on. And it shall come to pass in that day that I will seek to destroy all the heathen nations that come against Jerusalem. That's your Jeremiah 30, verse 11, and your Jeremiah 46, verse 28. There it is. He destroys the nations, doesn't kill all the people, though. These nations were built up by satanic people, and they all get destroyed. You know, I watched the other day a video of New York City in 1920. And a guy was on the street filming people with a movie camera, people walking. And I would say safely 90% of the people or 95% of the people look miserable. There's no peace and happiness and joy in these big cities. We're not supposed to live like that. Satan has you go up in an elevator and crawl into a hole in the wall and stay there. It's not the way you're supposed to live. Now in verse 10, this is going to be the most important event in the world since Yeshua was here and rose from the dead. And I will pour, and they're not even teaching you this, and I will pour upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and of supplication. Now, if he pours his spirit on them, does that mean they're believers? Perhaps like he shall take their sin away in a day? Oh. And then for a refresher, we'll jump over to John 6, verse 40, and then come back. John 6. And this is the will of him that sent me, that every one which seeth the Son, and believeth on him, may have everlasting life, and I'll raise him up at the last day. So when he pours his spirit out on them, they believe on Yeshua, then they see him. Now they have everlasting life, which is not immortality, but it's something like what they had in a way before the flood, but this will be better. You live a very, very long time. The scriptures for this is, my people's days shall be like that of a tree. A child shall die at 100. Now you know how to deal with those scriptures, which you didn't know before. Probably didn't know before. So now we go back to Zechariah 12, verse 10. If the computer cooperates. Which it is. Okay. So, and I will pour upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and of supplication, and they shall look upon me whom they have pierced, and they shall mourn for him as one mourneth for his only son, and shall be in bitterness for him as one that is in bitterness for his firstborn. In that day shall there be a great mourning in Jerusalem as the mourning of Hibramim. Okay, did they mourn Yeshua when he got killed? Oh, maybe Miriam, his mother, did, and Apostle John, but and the land in verse 12 it says, and the land shall mourn every family apart. I mean, did that happen when they killed Yeshua? No. Don't let the liars tell you that it did. Of course it never happened when they killed Yeshua. It's going to happen now because they're going to realize they've been mocking and making fun of Yeshua and rejecting him all these years, so they go into mourning. The everlasting life. Now we'll go to Mark 10, verse 30. And Yeshua answered, no, I went into Luke. Sorry, I got the wrong book. Mark 10, verse 30. Okay. We've got to go back, I think, to 28. Then Peter began to say unto him, Lo, we have left all and have followed thee. And Yeshua answered and said, Verily I say unto you, there is no man that hath left house, or brethren, or sister, or father, or mother, or wife, or children, or lands, for my sake and the gospel's, but he shall receive 100-fold now in this time houses and brethren and sisters and mothers and children and lands, with persecutions, and in the world to come. It doesn't say world to come. This is a big lie in most of the English translations, not all of them. The word in the Greek is aion, A-I-O-N. It means age, not world, age. This is them trying to sell you the Schofield Darby study Bibles, okay? And in the age to come, eternal life. It's not eternal, it's everlasting. Okay? So, when you have this everlasting life, you're in the next age. Okay? Now, the word here for eternal is, the Greek is Strong's number 166, and it means indeterminate as to duration. And that's what the everlasting life is. Okay? It's a word that means for an indeterminate period of time out to the future. But my people's days shall be like that of a tree. Trees die. A child shall die at 100. There's death. When you're in New Jerusalem, there is no death. Because you drink of the water of life and live forever, and eat of the tree of life and live forever. That's in New Jerusalem. That's not yet. Okay? This is the double portion. Now, where do we see this? We see this in Malachi 4. For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven. Remember the two witnesses burning them up on the right hand and the left, surrounding Judah and Jerusalem in Zechariah 12. That shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yes, all that do wickedly, shall be stubble. And the day, that's the day of vengeance, the day that cometh shall burn them up. I believe the day of vengeance is the end of the year of recompenses and the beginning of the year of redemption. Shall burn them up, saith Jehovah of hosts, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch. But unto you that fear my name, saith, shall the Son, S-U-N, Shemesh, of righteousness, Yeshua, arise with healing in his extremities. Remember the woman with the issue of the blood, and she grabbed his tassels, and she got healed, and he said, I felt power go out from among you. Okay, from among me, from me. All right, he wasn't mad at the woman. All right, so the tzitzit, the tassels, were on the outer borders of the robe-type garment they wore back then, all around it. And that's what it's talking about. So the people back then were not like the people today. They read the Old Testament. So they knew this Yeshua, when the woman grabbed his tassel and got healed, they knew this is who he was. The Son of Righteousness shall arise with healing in his extremities, and you shall go forth and frolic about, not grow up, frolic about as calves of the stalls. So you're going to be like a baby, like young again, not an infant. You'll be like, I don't know, 25 or something like that, right? And you shall tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet, for the day that I shall do this, saith Jehovah of hosts. Then it goes on to say, remember the law of Moses, my servant, which I commanded unto him in Horeb, for all Israel with the statutes and the judgments. So if you're a true believer in Yeshua, you're in Israel, and the churches are teaching you to throw this law away, contrary to the scriptures. Now, the other scripture I did not teach you yet, that I will, is Isaiah 61. Wait a minute. Isaiah 61. Now this, I believe, appears in the New Testament too. It reads like this, verse 1. The Spirit of Adonai Jehovah is upon me, because the Lord hath anointed me to preach tidings unto the meek. He hath sent me to bind the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound. And that's your dry bones. You see this in Zechariah 9 also, but we're not going to cover that today. To proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord. That's the pleasant year. That's the year of redemption. The acceptable year of the Lord and the day of vengeance. You see, so now the day of vengeance is associated with the redemption year as well as the recompense year. So I believe it's between the two. That's the pivot point when we go from the recompenses to redemption, everlasting life of our God, to comfort all that mourn. Well, that's the mourning in Zechariah 12 he's talking about. To appoint unto them that mourn in Zion, Zechariah 12, exactly. To give unto them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they might be called trees of righteousness, the planting of Jehovah, that he might be glorious. So now you know a lot more than prophecy than a lot of these people running around on the internet talking to you about all the wars and all this stuff. You know, they don't know what's going to happen. The only way you're going to really know what's happening is to understand correct Bible prophecy. But this is what the Lord showed me this morning. You guys have been on roller coasters, right? Sure you have. Some of you hate them, like I don't like the really big bad ones, but I've been on a lot of roller coasters, usually not the huge ones. But you start out, you very slowly go up a hill, usually a very straight uphill, a hard hill to go up. And you hear the ratchets, click, 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 and you get higher and higher and higher, click, 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 click. And then you get to the crescent or the top of it, right? And then you're going very slow. And then you have a great big drop. Now, where are we at today? We're at the top of the where the roller coaster is going. Ratchet, ratchet, click, 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 click. And we're ready to drop down very fast. What was happening on the way climbing up? We had to put down Hamas. We had to put down Hezbollah. We had to put down Syria. We had to put down Iraq. We've yet to put down the Houthis in Yemen. That'll happen. And Iran. Okay? And Iraq's probably going to have to go too. So now we're in a very big drop, which means things are going to happen very fast. We've been going up very slow. Now we're at the peak and it's going to go whoosh, and you're going to see things go very, very fast. Probably that's going to be Iran. And then what happens? Then we start going click, 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 click up. We're going to go up another high hill, but not as big as the first one, but big enough. And then we're going to get to the top. It'll slow down as we reach the top. And then we're going to go whoosh. And that's going to be probably Yemen. Because Elijah's not going to be able to come and work with the Levites in Malachi 3, which you should read. And the temple God places here isn't going to be there till that stops. And that's going to irritate the Donald, the Trump badly. And then we're going to go up a very high or reasonably high mountain again, and that's going to be the destruction of the daughter of Babylon. But it's not going to be very slow. They're going to go, it's not going to be that high of a hill, because it doesn't affect Israel. It's going to go up, and then it's going to come down fast. But it's not going to be that long. It's going to go very fast when that happens. Suddenly in a day. And then we're going to have the year of redemption, the appearing of the Son of Man, and then the year of redemption. And the next great Exodus, which if you're in Yeshua HaMashiach as a believer of non-Israelite origin, you are in Israel. Read Ezekiel 47, the last 3 verses. It says that you'll come over with the tribes of Israel, and you'll be incorporated in Israel in the tribe you came over here with, and you'll have an equal inheritance with them. You'll get the land, and you'll be considered an Israeli, and if anybody goes against that, the Lord will be against them. And that's what you read in Ezekiel 47, the last 3 verses, when we divide the land. So your future is quite bright. And when we get rid of this with the everlasting life, pushes us in the age to come, the next age. Satan is not the head of all the nations. Israel's the head of all the nations. How sweet it is. Now you should understand why the gospel is good news. It's not like Darby or Schofield where, you're going to take the mark of the beast and go to the lake of fire, or you're going to get your head cut off. They only have 2 options. That's their gospel. Satan's gospel, the sick, idiot gospel. Okay? So I can't go through everything here because we'll just be here forever and ever and ever. But that's, subscribe and keep coming back. I do prophecy every day. And you can go through my videos on YouTube. They're in the live section. And there's lots of discussions and Bible studies about these things in there. You can just go through them. Just fast forward through the news, which usually comes first. What's the point of watching news from 4 months ago? And just start picking up the Bible stuff. Okay? So let me see if I have any questions that need to be answered. And I do try to answer questions. What options does Iran have? Well, Trump's only option is unconditional surrender, which Iran doesn't seem to take. Um, they're psychotic, as you must understand that, number one. Number two, there's a lot of strong rumors that the Ayatollah Khomeini has already left Iran. Do I know that this is true? I do not know it's true. It's not been confirmed. Is it possible? Sure. Do I know for sure? No. Am I keeping my eyes and ears out open for that? You bet. We don't know. Is it possible? Sure. Is it likely? I don't know. Maybe 50-50 on. Um, do you think Iran will back down sooner? No, based on Bible prophecy, they're going to go down for the count. They're the ones that were driving Hamas, Hezbollah, Syria, Iraq, and Yemen at us. Those were their proxies. That's a big evil. That's the controversy over Zion, the year of recompenses. That's why all these Hamas, Hezbollah, Syria, Iraq are losing. They lost already, and Iran and the Houthis in Yemen will also lose. Are you looking at this from I'm looking at it from a biblical and a slightly historical perspective. Mostly current events and biblical. Somebody wrote Luke 8:46. We could take a quick look. Luke 8. And Yeshua said, somebody hath touched me. I perceive that virtue is gone out of me. That's what we talked about. Okay. So that knocked me out, and that's quite a lot for one day. Please hit the thumbs up button. That's 2 seconds of your time. Isn't that the least you could do? 2 seconds. If you want more, subscribe. That's up to you. I'll be giving you updates. I'm going to be updating my Telegram when stuff starts hitting, the eggs start hitting the fan, which is likely going to be today. I'm going to be doing emergency updates, live streams, so you might want to subscribe. So please pray for me and my wife for our peace, safety, protection, and joy. Pray for our healing. We're old. Pray for our finances. Pray for better videos with more insights into prophecy. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray for our birds and dogs that are all rescues. They're all rescues. That they be happy, healthy, and whole, and safe and secure. And pray that ourselves and our property and car become, are safe and secure and sound. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And thank you. I hope you got something out of this. And I am out.